Get ready.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Play to Win podcast, a show where we break down weekly gaming news through in-depth discussion. My name is Keiran, and I'm of course joined by my co-host Tyler. Tyler, how are you?
Karen, I'm doing well, as I told you before the show. It's been it's been a long week, an exhausting and tiring week for me. Every day this week, came home, was doing something. Mainly this week, I was working on a video that went up on the channel yesterday.
It did.
And yeah, it was fun making it, but man, I wasn't planning on making that video until like Saturday. I was like, oh, so you know what? This is gonna be my video. And then it was just a matter of getting all that together. So like every day was just a step of the process. Like Monday was writing it, Tuesday was finishing, make sure the writing was good, and then recording, and then doing a bit of the editing, and then Wednesday and Thursday was the main editing of it and making sure it was good to go up. So Friday it was just like, I can relax now. I can rest easily. In addition to like any other stuff I was doing outside of that, just, oh my gosh, it was a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had a very busy week. Mine has been very chill. The only, like I said to you before the show, the only exciting thing that happened this week was I picked up my new car on Tuesday. That's it.
Congratulations, though. You say it like it's, like it's not a big deal. Congratulations, you got a car. I
did. It's very, very nice. You can find a picture of it on Instagram on the Play to Win Game account.
Little hint for everybody, it's my favorite color. If you know what my favorite color is, then you have an idea as to what color this car is. If you don't know, then you'll just have to wait and see. And when you see the car, you'll now know what my favorite color is.
Yeah. Speaking of our social media, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at P to Win Game.
I'm pretty sure it's a Play to Win Game. I'm almost pretty positive of that because I went to the account yesterday and I was like, wait a second, hold on. Yeah, Play to Win Game. And when I saw it,
yes, Play to Win Game.
When I saw it, I was like, I feel like we might have been saying the wrong one like the past few weeks.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, you can find us on Twitter and on Instagram at Play to Win Game. You can find us over there. We post a few times a week over on Twitter and Instagram. Also, while you're here, remember to subscribe and turn on the notification bell on YouTube so you know whenever we upload a new video. Tyler uploaded his video, like we mentioned, on Friday, which is a preview of, I always forget the name of the game.
Knockout City,
which is the dodgeball game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, dodgeball game coming from Villain Studios, EA Originals. First popped up in a Nintendo Direct in February, and then we saw more of it in a State of Play shortly after that. So, yep, that game's I'm going to talk about that game later on in the show when we get to what we were playing, but woo, that game is fun. Way more fun than expected.
Yeah, I was watching your video. It looks like a lot of fun. Hopefully I'm able to play it at some point.
Yeah, hopefully you will be able to. I think it's going to be like, what, $20 when it comes out next month, May 21st. So not bad. And it'll be cross-play as well. So it'll be fun. I think they also said when I was reading up that there's going to be a free trial for the game. Like a free trial that you could do like up to a certain point. I don't remember how long the free trial is, but like up to a certain point, and then like you pay to, for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Interesting. I will definitely keep my eye on that. Now, this week we are going to be covering two main topics, which is Sony mainly focusing on blockbuster titles and Kojima may be working with Xbox on his next game. However, before that, we're going to get to a couple of brief mentions. Starting off, the Mass Effect the Legendary Edition has gone gold. It is now finished aside of like day one patches and stuff. That game will be released on May 21st, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I forgot when it is. That sounds somewhat right. I'm looking forward to this just because I've never played the original Mass Effect games. I played like a demo of 3 and like a part of the beginning of 1, and that was it. But I just wasn't really interested in Mass Effect when it first came out. But I'm looking forward to this. It's just a matter of, okay, can I find the time to play it?
Yeah. I got it wrong. It's the 14th of May is when it releases. I'm probably going to pick this up. I mean, I've said before, I've played all 3 Mass Effect games. Not a lot. I think I've played at most maybe like 2 or 3 hours of each game. I wasn't a huge fan of them when they came out. But my gaming taste has changed since then, so I might
Right.
pick this up and give this a go again to see if it might be something that's up my alley now. Yeah, for those of you who are excited for it, I'm excited for you. It's the 14th of May is when that game releases.
Cool.
Next up, IO Interactive is taking a break from Hitman to focus on their new James Bond game, which we don't know when it's coming out or really anything about it outside of they are making a James Bond game. And it will be an original story, not anything that you've seen in the Bond universe before, but it will be drawing from the franchise's entire history, reading from an IGN article written by Brian Barnett, saying, quote, IGN's Ryan McCaffrey sat down with IO Interactive CEO and co-owner Hakan Abrak to discuss the studio's history in the latest episode of IGN Unfiltered. Abrak confirmed that IO won't be using the likeness of any actor who's portrayed 007 in the past, but that's not only the place IO is differentiating for itself from what Bond has done before. The team will also be creating a completely new story for their original Bond. I love James Bond. I grew up watching those movies. I'm very, very, very excited for this game.
Yeah, I think doing their own original thing with it is probably for the best. You know, I imagine if they were like getting Daniel Craig's license for a James Bond game at this point in time where he is like definitely ready to be done with the character would probably be really difficult. And then, you know, to get any other previous James Bond actor and like their likeness for the role will probably be just as difficult, if not more. You know, and then by doing that, you also like kind of tie yourself to that iteration of the character, and so in terms of like what you can and cannot do. So just doing your own original thing, giving like still staying tied to like the James Bond mythology of sorts, but making your own story around it, like kind of like how Insomniac did it with Spider-Man and Rocksteady did with Batman. You know, like we're still in that working with that character's universe and things that that's true to the source material, but we're doing our own thing with it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do.
Yeah. I hope we see something from this game sooner rather than later, but I don't think it will be this year. I think this game is still a number of years out before it's released, let alone seeing anything.
I think if we were to see anything at the earliest, maybe Game Awards.
Maybe that would make sense. I think I agree with you. I think it's either going to be Game Awards or some point early next year is when we see anything from that game.
Yeah.
Aside from James Bond, IO is also working on a new IP. Again, another RGN article written by Brian Barnett speaking about the same unfiltered episode with Ryan McCaffrey saying, quote, while discussing his thoughts on support studios, Abrak also revealed that Hitman and the highly anticipated James Bond game aren't the only projects the studio is working on. A quote from Abrak saying, we have 007 we're working on, we have Hitman that we're working on. I should mention we're working on something else as well, something completely new, and a new IP, end quote. I have no idea what this could be. That's literally all the information we got, is that they're working on something that isn't Hitman and 007, so we'll see whenever they announce that game. But I imagine that's a number of years out before they start speaking about it.
Well, I was about to ask you when you think that they would announce that, and I imagine that. I don't know much about how IO Interactive works and like their timeline for like when they typically announce things and all like that. But they announced the James Bond thing not too long ago. So one would think that, okay, maybe they'll like officially announce this new IP once that game is out, or like once we're getting closer to that game's release. But part of me thinks, maybe they'll like talk about that game, or at least announce that game after Hitman 3's life cycle is kind of like ended, or like it's starting to like wane on down. That way people have two things to look forward to. Because I mean, if they have enough teams to work on these different projects, if they are saying that they're working on new IP, so like it's very possible that we could get an official name of some sort, sometime relatively soon. Maybe even before we see anything from James Bond. It's very possible that they can at least say, hey, this is what it is. Like in the same way they announced the Bond thing, just like with the, the short little teaser. It's very possible that they could do that. So yeah, I don't know. Perhaps it could be one of Jeff Keighley's big reveals for his Summer Game Fest and stuff this year.
Potentially. I read that Summer Games Fest this year, while the Day of the Dead usually focuses on indie games, there will be AAA games there as well. So potentially, could see it there. With all that being said, we are going to get on to our first major story this week.
Well, hold on. There was another brief mention there.
There totally was. Never mind. Before we move on to our first major story of the week, E3 has officially unveiled their plans for a digital-only 2021 show, and Sony will not be there. Which, I mean, I expected. They haven't been there for 2 years at this point now.
Yeah. 2018,
3 years.
2018, 2019, they were not there.
Yeah. So I didn't expect Sony to be there. And anyway, I think they said Xbox and EA are going to be there so far.
So they have announced companies that are there. EA is not there, as per usual. Like EA always does EA Play. They're never like at E3. They're like, around E3, but not at E3. But in their press release here, they say that with early quoting the press release, they say, quote, with early commitments from Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two Interactive, Warner Brother Games, Koch Media, and more to come. And they're going to say the dates, end quote. So yeah, that's who's confirmed as of right now. That's not to say that these are the only companies that will be at E3 this year. It's very possible and likely that more companies will announce their involvement as we get closer to the June 12th start date for E3. It's running from June 12th to June 15th. So it's very likely we'll get more announcements as we get closer to the dates. But I mean, hey, it's cool that, these companies are there. I wonder how much is going to be there from these companies as opposed to their own events, like Xbox and Nintendo, for example. Ubisoft, I would imagine they're probably going to do Ubisoft Forwards again this year. So it really begs the question of what do you keep for yourself? What do you bring to the show?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of makes me sad to say this, but I can see them like showing off smaller stuff they're working on and keeping like the bigger stuff for like a Ubisoft Forward or Xbox's own event or whatever they choose to do. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I'm still excited to see what they have to announce at E3, but I don't think they're going to be showing all of their cards at the E3 shows. They'll save them for their own events where they can have a bit more control over them.
Yeah, unless their shows are part of E3, because E3 they're still having press conferences for E3, so like the companies can still do their own events, but it can just be a part of E3. So like, I don't remember what Xbox's was last June. I forgot what they titled it. I don't know. I don't think it was the Inside Xbox, but they called it something. Like they could have a similar June event like they did last year, except it's just a part of E3. Nintendo could do a Nintendo Direct, but it will just be E3 Nintendo Direct. That way they're still having their own event, but it's just partnered with E3. And so E3 is getting the big announcements alongside companies doing it themselves. That's the ideal way to do it, I think, because I mean, you have the big focus of E3. I mean, basically everyone I know within the gaming community and the gaming industry knows like this is when E3 is, this is what usually gets announced. So I would imagine that would be the optimal way to go about it, is just make your event part of E3 so that way you have the audience who usually watches E3 anyway, but then you also have the audience from you just hosting your own event. Right. And I'm sure that EA and Sony will still do their own things separate. Oh, yeah. They'll probably do their own things separate from E3, but it will probably still be the exact same time frame that E3 is taking place. It's whenever EA was whenever E3's happened in the past, EA did the EA Play thing. it still happened the same weekend as all the other press conferences. It just wasn't at E3.
Yep.
Sony, I can't remember how it was for 2018 or 2019. It's really hard for me to remember. Wait, no, 2019 was was when Final Fantasy VII Remake was re-revealed. So I think like end of May-ish is when they had the state of play. Regardless, I can imagine Sony will probably, if they do their own event, which they will, it'll probably be, the same weekend, that same time frame, whatever press conferences are, and just maybe not be E3 affiliated.
Yeah. Question: do you think that they would have their event like the week before E3 so they can get all their announcements, like major headlines that E3's just coming out, so like the focus is going to be on the gaming community or the gaming industry from the community? Do you think they would have their event the week before E3 so they can get all their headlines out?
I mean, it's possible they could. It's in a day and age where they're not at E3 anymore, and they're doing their own digital events. It's possible they could say, hey, we want to have this space to ourselves right here. We don't want to compete for headlines with all these other companies. But I mean, I'm sure they're used to, having their stuff be the same day as a bunch of other press conferences. It's not the biggest thing in the world for that to be the case. So I mean, it's possible. I think it's possible. I don't know how likely it is though that they would do it before the other press conferences. And I know that the week before all this, like the official E3 kicks off, is the media week. It's press week. So I don't know if they're gonna want to have their event the same time that press week is going on.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's also the point that like anything Sony put out, like if they put out like I don't know, Horizon Forbidden West or God of War Ragnarok news, like that is going to be headline news.
Yeah.
Even if everyone else had their like conference the same day.
Yeah.
It's like that would be at the top. So I don't think Sony would be too worried about anything like that.
Yeah, whenever companies have their shows or whatever, like the eyes are on them when they are having their show. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Okay, now we are going to move on to our first main news story of the week.
For real this time.
Which Tyler, I'm going to throw over to you.
Yeah, so first big story of the week. Sony, big Sony story. Yesterday, I believe it was Jason Schreier, because it's always Jason Schreier. It was Jason Schreier with the giant scoop over here, with this Bloomberg article about how Sony is mainly focusing on the blockbuster titles, and that's going to be where their focus is. But because of this, it's causing some problems, some unrest amongst their development studios. And there were two main headlines that people were taking from this yesterday. That being that one, Days Gone 2, a sequel, was denied from Sony Bend, the developer of Days Gone. Plans for a sequel were denied 2 years ago in 2019. And that two, a remake of The Last of Us, of all games, is apparently in the works, alongside also a new Uncharted game. Those were like the main big headlines that everyone took away from this, which understandable. Those are all three just like really bizarre, crazy things where you're just like, wait, you're like, all right, so Days Gone sequel is not happening. Okay. A new Uncharted is happening. Okay. Wait, a remake of The Last of Us? What? Huh? So those are like the big things, but we're gonna break this down bit by bit in the whole story. So, as I said, Jason's article is titled "Sony's Obsession with Blockbusters Stirring Unrest Within the PlayStation Empire," and it's framed around the company that was working on the Last of Us remake. But I'm not gonna start there. I'm gonna start with the fact that one, Sony is not interested in games that will only sell well in Japan, and how this relates to them focusing mainly on their blockbuster titles. Before I get into this, Keiran, did you read the article, or have you read anything regarding anything about this news?
The only thing that I've seen from it is the Days Gone 2 sequel was denied, and that they're apparently remaking The Last of Us. That's the only thing that I've kind of looked at. I've seen headlines for it. I haven't read super far into it, to be honest.
Okay, so you don't really have too many thoughts on it as of right now?
I wouldn't say that.
Okay, so you want to say those thoughts for when we get to that part then?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so we'll start with the fact that Sony is not interested in games that will only sell well in Japan. I'm going to read a little blurb here from Jason's article where he says, quote, Sony's focus on exclusive blockbusters has come at the expense of niche teams and studios within the PlayStation organization, leading to high turnover and less choice for players. Last week, Sony reorganized a development office in Japan, resulting in mass departures of people who worked on less well-known but acclaimed games such as Gravity Rush and Everybody's Golf. The company has informed developers that it no longer wants to produce smaller games that are only successful in Japan. That's what Bloomberg reported last week. So I believe it was last week or sometime not too long ago when that first news came out that Sony's Japan studio was shutting down, and people were understandably, they were like disappointed and saddened by it because Japan studio was kind of home to a number of creative and unique games that you would not get over here on the Western end of things, such as Gravity Rush, which is a game that I love. And it's a game I would have bought a Vita for if the Vita was not so expensive and did not have the proprietary memory cards that were also stupidly expensive. I would have got a Vita just for that game. But I played it on PS4 and I love Gravity Rush. Japan Studio also, is home to Knack. People love to rag on Knack, but I mean, Knack is Knack. Everybody's Golf, that's another franchise that people over there, well, not people over there, but like people in the Sony audience really love. I believe that Japan Studio is also behind games such as Loco Roco, Ape Escape, Patapon, really like franchises that are near and dear to the hearts of many PlayStation owners. So Sony shutting the studio down saddened a lot of people, and from a business side of things, you can understand it. Like Japan Studios games, they hadn't been as successful as like some of the other games in Sony's worldwide studios. They might be critically successful, but not as critically successful as the others. And they almost certainly were nowhere near as financially successful as, say, God of War, Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, so on and so forth. You could go down the list. So it just kind of made sense from a business side of things. It made sense why they closed the studio down, and they're kind of reorganizing them around the Asobo team, which is behind Astrobot Rescue Mission and Astro's Playroom, which are two incredibly highly acclaimed games. Rescue Mission is PSVR exclusive, and it is like people always say it's game of the year quality, one of the best VR games they've ever played. Astro's Playroom comes with a PS5. It's just a fantastic game and fantastic experience, an awesome way to show off the DualSense and what it can do.
Yeah,
but still, it's sad to see that they're saying that they're not interested in games that will only sell well in Japan. Again, you can understand the financials of it, but them saying that they're kind of really not interested in that anymore, it kind of feels like what's worrying about it is that there's now going to be less creative and unique games coming out of Sony. And that's what has a lot of people worried and concerned and disappointed the most.
Yeah, I mean, I played Gravity Rush, not all the way through if I remember correctly, but I played a fair amount of it. I really enjoyed that game. It was really interesting. I agree with you that I don't think this is a good move purely because it's going to offer far less diversity in Sony's like lineup of games. Like you're going to have Uncharted, Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon, like these big blockbuster titles, when that's not always what people want. Sometimes people want like a smaller indie game or a smaller game, the likes of like Gravity Rush, Everybody's Golf. Like, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this at all. I think it's a really bad move on Sony's part.
Yeah, it's a move that, like I said, I understand the financials of it. I understand business wise, it's a move that just makes sense because for a bit now, Sony has become less and less Japan focused, I guess you could say. They're becoming more of a worldwide company with focus like that. That's where the money is. The money is not necessarily just there and focusing entirely or a whole lot on only your Japanese audience. Sony and PlayStation is such a big thing worldwide. Like they have studios all over the world. You have PlayStation Studios as a way to like the rebrand of PlayStation Studios. I mean, when they kind of have that logo now pop up on their first party games and all, as a way to unify everything. For years over in Japan, the circle button on the controller was the confirm button, not X or cross, whatever you want to say. Not cross over here like everywhere else outside of Japan. But with the PS5, cross is now the confirm button all over the world, globally, worldwide, which a lot of people in Japan weren't that big a fan of. But it's a thing of Sony trying, I don't want to say consolidate, but just unifying everything under one umbrella, one identity in a sense. And it sucks that, I guess you could say, we're losing Japan Studio, or I don't, because it's not necessarily that Japan Studio is totally gone, but like it's just being reshaped in a way. Yeah. And it's a shame that it's losing what it was before, and we're probably going to be getting less great stuff from them that we've been getting over all this time, over all these years. I would have loved Gravity Rush 3. The way 2 ended kind of left it in a way where it's like, okay, we're kind of done. Like a third one did not need to happen after Gravity Rush 2 with the way it ended. But with the fact that Gravity Rush itself is just so freaking just anime in every sense of the word. Like, I'm not spoiling the end of Gravity Rush 2, but like Gravity Rush 2, the way it ends, the ending stuff of that game is just like so freaking, it just goes full anime. If you're an anime watcher, you understand what I mean by that. It just does some really crazy things and just stuff where you're just like, all right, I'm just along for the ride. So because of like just the way Gravity Rush is, they easily could have been like, all right, we're gonna go full anime and we'll just like make up some reason for a third game to exist. But yeah, that's just one part of this whole thing here. And one effect of Sony's, increased focus and emphasis on their blockbuster titles. You got any more things to say about the Japan stuff before we move on to the, I guess you could say the bigger things here?
I do not know.
All right. So going on from that, we then get to how Sony's increased focus on these big blockbuster and AAA titles is causing issues and strife and unrest amongst their smaller studios, the studios that aren't Naughty Dog and Sony Santa Monica or Sucker Punch or even Insomniac. And we'll start here with Sony Bend, with Bend Studio and Days Gone 2. So in 2019, Bend Studio, they pitched a sequel. They pitched Days Gone 2 to Sony, and it was denied. It was denied. Like the original game was very profitable. And I mean, critically, it was received got very mixed receptions. And it also had a very lengthy development, but the game was profitable. It sold really well. At the end of 2019, it was one of the top 20 games, top 20 best-selling games on PlayStation for that year. And it's a game that the fans of that game really love it. Like the divide between critical reception of that game or fan reception could not have been any different, could not have been wider. So because of that, it was a lot of people thought to themselves, okay, well, Days Gone 2, it's very likely that Days Gone 2 will happen. It made a lot of money. Yes, critical reception was mixed, but it made a lot of money. Fans really love it. It just makes sense that Bend Studio would do it if they weren't going to do their own thing. But instead, Sony denied their pitch for a sequel because of the reasons that I claimed, and that kept it from being a, quote, viable option, as Jason's article here says. So they were then asked to help Naughty Dog over there with a multiplayer game that they're working on, which many can kind of assume is whatever their multiplayer is going to be for The Last of Us. It hasn't come out yet, but Naughty Dog has said they're working on it. So since it helped Naughty Dog with the multiplayer game as well as a new Uncharted game. So once they got put over there on those projects, some of the staff at Bend Studio, including some of their leads, they weren't happy with this. They weren't happy with this new arrangement, so they left the studio. And the company, like some of the people in the development team over there at Bend, were worried that they were going to get absorbed into Naughty Dog, which they didn't want to have happen. So the leadership over at Bend, they asked Sony if they could be taken off the Uncharted project, and they got taken off. They're now working on their own new IP. And that's the situation with Bend Studio and how Sony's, again, their emphasis and their focus on their big AAA blockbuster titles and not wanting to take risks on certain ideas and wanting I don't want to say guaranteed hits, but a game that you look at it and you're like, this is going to be a hit. This is great. Do it. That focus on it is just kind of affecting their other development studios.
Yeah.
What's your take on this here, on the whole Bend Studio Days Gone situation?
I really don't agree with any of this. I think that Days Gone, just because a game isn't super well received by critics, is not a valid reason not to give it a sequel. If it sold well and it made you money, why would you not make a second one? Why would you not give, if the story left, I haven't played it, but if the story left off at a point where a sequel would make sense, why would you not make a sequel to it if fans want that and if it was profitable? If you know the first one sold well, and again, fans want it, why would you not make a second one just because it didn't get, the best reviews by critics? I fundamentally disagree with that. That is 100% taking away I suppose the creative autonomy from a developer purely because you're like, no, we don't really want to do this because it didn't get tens. That is completely unfair. 2, I don't agree with them being sent to help Naughty Dog with whatever they're working on, because you're essentially turning a studio that has proven they are able to make a fairly good selling, fairly well received by fans IP, and you're saying, no, we don't like that, you go and be a support studio. Don't agree with that whatsoever. Which caused, like you said, some staff to leave, which again is the last thing you want to happen. You don't want staff to leave because of executive decisions that are being made. It's not good for the studio, it's not good for your public image, it's not good for just the development of games from that studio overall. I'm happy that because they asked to be taken off, it sounds like they have, if they're making a new IP.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that Sony were like, yeah, you know what, we'll take you off it and we'll just let you do your thing. But overall, I really get bad vibes from that entire section.
Yeah, so I have a couple of thoughts on this. So number one, when I read it, I was like, man, I guess that kind of sucks, because Days Gone, when it came out, I liked it. I liked the game. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was good. If I was to review it, I don't think I reviewed it. I don't think I wrote a review of it myself for my blog. But if I was to review it, I probably would have given it a 7.5. I thought it was a good game that was too long. The game was 60 hours long. It did not need to be that long.
Oh.
It could have been much shorter.
Yeah.
60 might be a bit of exaggeration, but it was up there. It was close to that length.
Yeah.
So it was a very long game that had some technical issues, and a lot of the good stuff didn't come until near the end of the game, the hordes and everything. The hordes are in the world, and yeah, if you want, you could attempt to take them on, but you are not able to actually take them. You're not equipped to take them on until near the end of the game. So then once you're able to take them on, then it's okay, then you see on the map all the hordes that are around the world pop up. But at that point, it's I want to say that's probably in the last 10 or so hours of the game when that happens. So it's you get to that point, you can either just do them all if you want to, or you finish the game and then go around checklisting.
Yeah.
And the thing is, taking out the hordes is a lot of fun. Like you see them and you're like, all right, how am I? You scout them out and you see like where like kind of like the paths that they take and all like that. You see what's in the environment that you can use to your advantage, like help you clear them out. And then it's like, all right, you go down, you like kind of place down your traps or whatever you want to do. That way, once you have once you have everything pop off, you just go run your route. That's what I would do. I would run my route and have them like run into the traps that I placed down along my route or like along the route I had in mind. And it was so much fun. But it sucked that the most cool thing about the game came at the very end of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that aside, like the game had some great ideas. And I would have loved to see a sequel where they were able to iron out the rough spots, like shorten the length. Let's work out some of these technical issues. Let's make it so that I talk to a quest giver and, I finish a quest, I leave, and then 5 seconds after I leave, they don't call me saying, hey, I have a quest for you when you could have given it to me while I was there. It was one of those where like, I was like, seriously, I was just there with you. It's a minor thing, but when you have that happen across 60 hours, it becomes annoying.
Yeah.
Like iron out the issues, improve what was great about the original game, expand on the world of the story, because the game ended in a way where it left, and the story ended in a way where they could leave it there if they wanted to, but it very clearly teased and set up a sequel plot.
Okay.
Yeah, but that tease, you don't get that tease unless you finish a bunch of side missions. There's a whole other side story you have to do, and once you finish that whole side story, then you get like the true ending of the game, which is that. So it's very possible that some people didn't see it, which is why I say the game ends where they could leave it, but they have a setup if they want to.
Yeah.
All that being said, like I said, I would have loved to see a second Days Gone. I think a second one could have been much better, just like Uncharted to Uncharted 2, Assassin's Creed to Assassin's Creed 2. It could have been much better. But at the same time, I also would, in the lead up to this announcement, I would not have been surprised if a Days Gone 2 didn't happen, because of the fact that critical reception to it was so mixed. Like I know that there was a lot of fan love behind it, and it did make a whole lot of money. But I wouldn't have been, well, I don't want to say a lot. It was profitable enough. I wouldn't have been surprised though if a second one didn't happen. If Sony had said, yeah, we don't know if this is a good idea, so we're just not going to go with it. And this is all to say, like, they pitched the sequel, and the pitch was denied. That's not to say that, at least from what we know, that Sony said you can never make another Days Gone. For all we know, like, it could have just been that the pitch just wasn't good. And if they retool their pitch in some time, they could pitch it again, and then like, there we go. That's a good one. Let's go with that idea. Or, it's also very possible that aside from it just not being a viable option, the pitch just wasn't good. And again, I'm not trying to like be an apologist here and make excuses. I'm just trying to look at it from different angles and all like that. At the end of the day, like I said, I think a Days Gone 2, while not needed in my eyes, would have been cool to see. I would have liked to see more from that world.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of being sent to help Naughty Dog with the multiplayer game on Uncharted, that definitely sucks. That's the thing where it's like, now, again, different studio. It's not unheard of for, not just in terms of Sony, but like other companies as well, for different studios to help other studios on games. That's not unheard of in any way, shape, or form. But what does suck here is for this studio that just put out a pretty good game to then go essentially be support studio on a new Blockbuster game, like helping make the new Uncharted. It's not the same as Sledgehammer and Raven Studios being support studios on a Call of Duty game, or you have Star Wars Battlefront, and then you have Criterion helping out with the space stuff, and one studio helping out with the story and all like that. I don't think it's quite the same as Sony Bend going to be a support studio on a new Uncharted. It just that just seems wrong. I don't want to say like wasted potential, but it kind of seems like wasted potential.
Yeah.
So it's understandable that, you know, leads were like, yeah, I don't like this, I'm out. And it's great that they were able to get off the project and be able to make another new game of their own. It's a new IP. Now, because it's a new IP, I wonder. It says new IP. I wonder if they're bringing back Siphon Filter, because Sony Bend created Siphon Filter back in the PS1 days. I think Siphon Filter was on the PS2. I don't remember, but that was a spy franchise that people really like, and that series has been dead for a while now. So, like, it'd be cool if they were able to go back to it. And that's an idea that I've seen people mention for a while. Like, hey, if Days Gone 2 doesn't happen, perhaps they can do Siphon Filter. Maybe this is what it is, or maybe it is something entirely new. Who knows? I'm happy that they're able to work on something brand new themselves. But it's, again, coming back to how Sony's increased emphasis on blockbuster titles only is affecting the studios. It sucks here that they were said, hey, no, you can't do this. Go help them on a new Uncharted. You know, kind of like shut the idea down because it's not a viable option. It sucks at the end of the day, and I'm sure that there are reasons behind these things that make sense. Because at the end of the day, Sony's a business. And from a business perspective, it probably makes sense. But I do think Days Gone, a sequel, could have been much better. I think it could have been great. I mean, after all, we got Knack and Knack 2. We got 2 Knack games. Knack 1 was not received all that well. But perhaps Mark Cerny was able to, you know, use his muscle to say Knack 2 is happening. And Knack 2,
yeah,
I haven't played either one, but reviews for Knack 2 were better than the first one. I'm not going to say drastically better, but the game went from being, the first one, it went from being, why is, like, I guess this is a thing to, hey, Knack 2 actually ain't that bad.
Yeah, I mean, video games are a form of technology, right? And I mean, when you're talking about like a product launch for be like a phone, a laptop, or a games console, the first generation of the hardware or the software is always worse, or in most cases worse than the second one, because the first version is like you initially trying the thing, you working out all these features, and you developing all this tech and or lore or whatever. And then the second version is you refining that on like an already established base, so to work on, so you're not having to work on everything from scratch, but you have foundation to then improve and evolve and iterate on what you made before. So in most cases, a sequel to a game or a sequel to a tech product is usually better than the first one, at least technically. Maybe not in terms of like story or mechanics or whatever, but in terms of like tech issues or fundamental mechanics or whatever, then usually it's fine. But the second point I wanted to make is there is a very big difference between asking to help a studio with a game and being sent to help a studio with a game. If you ask, then it's like, you know, maybe I mean, in that Bethesda roundtable that Xbox had a few weeks ago, they were like, yeah, if a studio has downtime between games, like, you know, if Machine Games finish work on Wolfenstein 1 before they start work on Wolfenstein 2, if they have a bit of time there, they can go and help id with Doom Eternal if they want to. They're not being told, hey, you have to go and work on Doom with id. It's more of a, like, it's more of an asking, like, yes, like, we're able to help, we'll go and do it, rather than Bethesda turning around and saying, no, you have to go and do it. So I really can't stand when companies are like, no, you have to go and work, or you have to go and help this studio with this game, because they're I don't know, for lack of a better term, more important than you, or they're the golden child, or they're working on a game that is much more high profile than yours is.
Yeah, and you see, because I don't think when it comes to being assigned to help a studio with something, I don't necessarily think it's an issue depending on the situation. So, like, again, going back to the criteria, going back to the EA and Activision stuff, like, their support studios are assigned to help the other studios work on the big game, because that's their job. It's different when, in this case, it comes off, or at least from the outside looking in, it seems like a punishment. It's like, okay, Days Gone
Yeah.
didn't come out that well. So because of that, you guys now have to go help them. You guys are now on support duty. And because of that, that's why it seems so bad. That's why it comes off as just so wrong. I don't want to say dirty, but like a slap in the face to Ben, who are talented. Days Gone, again, Days Gone is not a bad game. It's a good game that has issues that keep it from being great or amazing in my eyes. But again, with those issues ironed out, fixed, and the great things improved and expanded on, a sequel could have been great or amazing. And I would have really liked to see that. And I think that it is still possible we could see that sometime down the line. I don't think Days Gone is totally, completely on ice. I do think, if they pitch it again, with the right pitch, we could see a sequel in a couple years after this new IP is out and done. But yeah, them basically being told your game came out and was not all that great. Because of that, go support Naughty Dog on their 2 projects when you guys are super talented yourselves and are able to lead your own development. It just seems very wrong. And I forgot also, I think that if people want a Days Gone 2 to happen, their best chance will be to support the living mess out of this game when it comes to PC. Because it's coming to PC soon, and it's going to give the game a second chance at life in a sense. Like, it'll get a whole new set of fans when it comes on Steam, when it comes to PC, and more sales. Sales will, jump up when it comes to PC. I don't know what it was like for Horizon in terms of sales on PC, but I would imagine, Days Gone would do just as well, if not better, when it comes to PC, just considering how much people loved it on PS4. Bringing it to PC, like if you want a Days Gone 2, this is your chance. When it comes to PC, that's your chance to show Ben Studio that you support the game, that you like the game, that you want more of it. And by showing Ben, you're also showing Sony and giving Ben something to show Sony, saying, hey, look, the game is still making so much money. The game made this much money on PC and made this much money on console. It's on PlayStation Plus this month as a free game. So we have all these people talking about it and playing it and everything and wanting more of it. That might be enough to give them the push that they need to to pitch the game again. Either retool the pitch some or just bring the same pitch, but have all these extra stats and stuff behind them to show that, hey, look, there is support behind this game, behind our studio, behind an idea for a sequel. And we think that it's worth chasing. We think it's worth giving a shot. Give the game a second chance, and it will be worth it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So yeah, that's where I am on this in terms of Sony and the way that they're operating, affecting their studios. You got any final thoughts on this one before we go to the final piece of this whole giant puzzle?
Nope. I think I've said everything I need to say about that.
All right. So the final piece of the puzzle, this is the more lengthy one, because this is more so what the whole article was framed around. It's about Sony's Visual Arts Service Group and how they were working on a remake of The Last of Us. So Visual Arts Service Group, they've long been a Sony support studio. They were founded in 2007 by Michael Mumbauer. But because they've typically been a support studio, they kind of wanted to be a lead developer on a project. So 3 years ago, Michael Mumbauer, the founder of the group, he got 30 devs from inside and outside of Sony to form a new dev team. And in Jason's article, it says here that, quote, the idea was to expand upon some of the company's most successful franchises, end quote. Now I'm going to pause it right there because we've heard rumors for a while that Sony had a new studio in San Diego that they hadn't formally announced yet, but they had a new Sony San Diego studio that was meant to expand on existing franchises. And people for a while have been thinking, okay, maybe this studio is working on a new Uncharted, whether it be a full-fledged Uncharted or like a spin-off like Lost Legacy.
Yeah.
That studio is doing. Now we know what that studio is and what they were planning to do. Except Sony never formally acknowledged the company. They never formally acknowledged the studio as its own thing, and they gave them some money for their project that they were working on here, The Last of Us remake, but not enough to expand on what they were trying to do. Because the new president of Worldwide Studios, Herman Holst, he came to the position I think last year or the year before that. When they kind of presented him with like a small piece of what they had put together so far, he was like, he saw it as being too expensive, and part of the reason was, it was being made on new engine, PS5, all that stuff. So that was part of why it was so expensive. But so I'm reading. So again, continue to explain this from the Bloomberg article. Jason says here, quote, "For their first solo project, Mumbauer and his crew wanted to pitch something that would be well received by their bosses at Sony. Recognizing the risks and expense involved with developing a new game from scratch, they decided to focus on remaking older games for the new PlayStation 5, end quote." Again, coming back to realizing that because it's a risky idea to do something new, that let's just remake something that's already there. That is guaranteed to get the green light from Sony, because they're kind of not, they don't really want to take too many risks with their game ideas that they're putting out and all like that.
Yeah.
So they originally planned to remake the original Uncharted from 2007, but chose not to because it would be, quote, "expensive and require too much added design work," end quote, which makes sense. The game is I don't want to say super old, but it's going to be 14 years old this year. And the newer games they play differently, in terms of just like mechanics and stuff like that, technology develops, so on and so forth. So then they decided on The Last of Us because it was, quote, "more modern and wouldn't require too many gameplay overhauls," end quote. And then their plan was, after remaking The Last of Us, they would then go on to older games, after they had established themselves. And like some ideas that they had were like the original Uncharted or even the original God of War. And imagine that. Just pause for a second. Imagine the original God of War being made with current gen graphics and everything. That would be insane.
Yeah, I would definitely play that. I really like the God of War series.
Right. So the Last of Us remake was going to be for PS5. It was going to have, updated graphics and gameplay features so that it would be brought more in line with The Last of Us Part 2. And there was even the idea since it would be on PS5, you could package both games together. Yeah. So it's like a more cohesive type of thing. So then they had, a little piece together that they had able playable, I guess, to present as like, hey, this is what we have so far. What do we think of it? When they were actually going to be getting ready to start full production on it, they got sent to help Naughty Dog finish The Last of Us Part 2 because it had just been delayed. And then after that game released, Naughty Dog came over to help them with The Last of Us remake. But then eventually what turned out happening was that Naughty Dog basically ended up taking full control of the project, and Visual Arts Support Group was back in a support role, which they didn't want to be in the first place. So then Mumbauer and multiple other people at over there left the company, but it's still in development over there at Naughty Dog. Visual Arts Support Group still in a support position, helping with the game. And as it says here in the article, at the very end of it, they are, it says here, quote, "The future of the remainder of Mumbauer's team, which has come to be jokingly referred to as Naughty Dog South, remains unclear," end quote. So Keiran, that's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But what do you think of this in the whole grand scheme of things?
Similarly to how I feel about the Bend Studio stuff, I don't like the way this turned out. Not at all. This is more just a personal thing. We do not need a remake of The Last of Us. The game came out less than 10 years ago. You're basically going to be playing The Last of Us remastered. It doesn't make sense. I can't stand when companies spend their time remaking games that came out less than 10, 15 years ago when they don't need it. Games that came out on the Xbox One and PS4 generation do not need a remake. Sure, absolutely, give them a patch for Series X or PS5. Do not spend time remaking the game. You don't need to. They still run fine. They still look fine. Just patch them, even just port them. It doesn't need a remake. I can't stress how much that annoys me. Please just focus on making a new IP or a sequel or a smaller game within that universe, whatever. Don't remake a game that doesn't need a remake.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna let's go sit on that for a second. When I read this, I was like, really? I think this is I don't want to say the one thing I take the most issue with, but I think this might be like what I have like the biggest thoughts on. Because like I think everyone can unilaterally agree on this. This is just stupid. A Last of Us remake. This game came out in 2013, was remastered for the PS4 2014, got a 60 FPS patch. I don't remember, but it's able to be played at 60 FPS on the PS4 or PS4 Pro, one of the two. Got up-res and everything. The game is not dated in terms of like gameplay, graphics, or anything like that. Like it still plays fine. It still runs fine. It looks fine on PS4. There is no reason to remake this game. I understand they're saying, they want to bring the graphical fidelity up to, the standards of Last of Us 2. Yeah, that'd be nice. It's not necessary though, especially not at this point in time when the game just came out in 2013. It was remastered in 2014. It's not really necessary. Gameplay, they want to like kind of update the gameplay and stuff. I mean, what are they going to add? The ability to go prone in grass and like kind of expand on like maybe make Joel able to jump. I'm not sure what they would need to expand on, because the gameplay expansions that like the gameplay additions or stuff you could say that they added for Last of Us Part 2 makes sense aside from the laying the grass thing. Makes sense because it's Ellie. She has her knife, so she can break windows. She could stab the clickers all the time. She's more nimble, so she can jump and dodge and stuff like that. I mean, I guess you could add the dodging stuff with Joel, but then it changes the design of the game in a sense, in a way that I don't want to say will break it, but will make playing it different. And The Last of Us Part 1, the gameplay for it is just fine. It works. It does not need to be changed. The Last of Us Part 2 really didn't change much. It changed a few things, but didn't change too much, and it still plays just fine. A remake of this game does not need to exist. And I think I said this on Twitter, but if not, I will say it right now. This remake is a waste of time and resources. Time, money, and resources.
100%.
And it does not need to exist. And here's the thing. I understand it was not Naughty Dog's idea. It was Visual Arts Service Group's idea. And I understand that they had this idea because it was like, all right, this will be easier to do, and it will be guaranteed to, this will get a green light because it's The Last of Us. I understand that. But the fact that it got a green light, and the fact that it was even thought of as like, you know what, let's do this game, it doesn't make sense to me. It's an idea that doesn't need to exist. And I normally don't say this, but this is a project that I actually want to get canceled. I don't want this thing to come out. Don't do this. Stop working on this. Work on something else. Do not work on this.
Yeah, you know what you could work on instead? Work on remaking the original God of War. Work on remaking Jak and Daxter. Work on remaking the original Killzone. Like, there are so many games that Sony has that you could choose, but you choose the one that came out less than 10 years ago just because you know it's the Last of Us and it'll sell well. I hate that. I don't agree with this whatsoever. Please do not release The Last of Us again. You're turning into Bethesda and Skyrim.
Yeah, and it's like it all comes back comes back to the idea of Sony not wanting to take the risk. And the idea, like, I feel like a remake of the original Uncharted, while I think also a bit unnecessary, would have made a tad bit more sense than a remake of The Last of Us. Because Uncharted, it came out at 2007, near the beginning of the PlayStation 3's lifetime. And yeah, you could update the graphics, make it look like Uncharted 4 or The Last of Us Part 2, and you could rework the gameplay so that it feels better to play. That all, it's again, it's not too necessary because the game is still fine as is. It's more so that would be more so a gameplay overhaul and a graphical overhaul. I can understand that a bit more. So, you know, it's kind of like similar to how they're doing Mass Effect with the Legendary Edition. The original Mass Effect is getting like, I don't want to say a massive graphical overhaul, but it's getting a sizable graphical overhaul. And the gameplay, from what I've been reading, you know, it's getting reworked some. So like, I guess that would make sense. But God of War, like anything from like the PS2 day, if you want to remake that, that would have made way more sense. Like you said, the original God of War, that would have been really cool to see. They probably wouldn't want to do that though, because Ragnarok is coming out. And that like one would step on the toes of the other. You know, so it just probably would not make the most sense to do that. So then it's like, okay, like you said, maybe remake Killzone. And then by doing that, maybe you can see if people will be interested in a new Killzone. But the thing is Killzone even worth bringing back at this point in time? So I mean, Killzone was like, you know, PlayStation's attempt to have their own like Halo killer in a way. And it never reached that goal. Yeah. It never did. You know, Killzone Shadowfall launched with the PS4. We have not had a Killzone thing since then. Killzone died, so Horizon could live. You know, so it's like, then it begs the question of, all right, is it worth bringing that back at all? I think what would have been cool to see maybe would be, like you said, a Jak and Daxter. Like Ratchet and Clank is still kicking and breathing and everything like that. So that wouldn't happen. But, you know, they're not going to remake the original Ratchet and Clank or one of the older Ratchet and Clanks, because the first Ratchet and Clank got remade for the movie, and, you know, so on and so forth. Sly Cooper did come back during the PS3 time with a fourth game, but I didn't play it. I don't know how well it did, and I'm assuming that because we haven't gotten anything since then, that it wasn't worth bringing back. But Jak and Daxter is the only one that has not returned. Yeah, they were in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. And yeah, there was a PSP game after Jak 3 came out that kind of like took place after Jak 3. But we have not had anything Jak and Daxter related at all. Like, maybe remake that. Bring that back. And see what people, bless you, see what people would think of that.
Thanks.
Because I'm sure people will love to see Jak and Daxter come back in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. You know, that'd be cool. Or even something from the PS1 days. But Last of Us, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense as an idea, but it makes sense financially.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it makes sense financially because it's The Last of Us and people will buy they could literally say, yeah, we're making The Last of Us bin bag or trash bag, and people would be like, yeah, I'm gonna buy that. Like, it's one of those games that would sell no matter what you do with it. So I understand. I mean, like, I agree with you. I understand why they chose The Last of Us, and I understand why that was going to be their project. But it's not needed. Not even slightly. You know what is needed? A Simpsons Hit and Run remake. That's needed. That's 100. I would buy the hell out of that.
I never played Hit and Run, but
it's so good.
People like sing that game's praises. But yeah, that's my first thought on all this. And then it sucks that, you know, they were trying to step out of their own shadow. Well, step out the shadows of others, and then kind of got put back in the shadows of others. Like, it's just, it sucks. It really does suck.
Yeah. Yeah, that was gonna be my other point after my whole Last of Us remaster tangent. I really, really, really don't like that they were like, yeah, we want to be more than a support studio, and Sony seemed to support that for a little bit, and then they were like, actually, no, you know what? We're gonna give this to the Golden Child because we know the Golden Child's gonna do it right, and we know the Golden Child will. Well, Okay, I don't understand. I don't know like the behind the scenes reason as to why it was given back to Naughty Dog, so I can't say for sure that it was given back to them because they are the golden child, because they are like the makers of The Last of Us, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But
In the article, real quick, it says here that I'm just going to read the paragraph all. It says,
Yeah.
quote, then the roles got reversed. Sony sent word that after the completion of The Last of Us Part 2, some people from Naughty Dog would help out with T1X. This was the code name for The Last of Us remake. Mumbauer's team saw this as their short-lived autonomy being stripped. Dozens of Naughty Dog staff were joining the project, and some had actually worked on the original The Last of Us, giving them more weight in discussions about T1X's direction, which Sony gave more leeway than the original. Well, hold on. Sorry, I skipped a line. Giving them more weight in discussions about T1X's direction. The game was moved under Naughty Dog's budget, which Sony gave more leeway than the Visual Arts Service Group. Soon it was apparent that Naughty Dog was in charge, and the dynamics returned to what they had been for the last decade and a half. The Visual Arts Support Group aiding another team of developers rather than leading. To Sony, the move made sense. Naughty Dog is, quote, one of the key studios for Sony's ability to sell PlayStations, said Bloomberg intelligence analyst Matthew Canterman. Quote, Sony's competitive advantage has always been exclusive content over Microsoft, and more new games as well as remakes of classic titles from such a storied team can help sustain demand for PS5, end quote.
yeah, I really really hate that. I really do. They wanted autonomy. They wanted to be more than a support studio. They've been with Sony for what, 13 years, 14 years at this point. Like, they have worked on a number of games. They have the development talent. Why would you not let them at least try and be their own studio rather than in the shadow of someone like Naughty Dog or Sony Interactive Entertainment or whoever? Like, all this is saying to me is that right now Microsoft have a much better handle on like nurturing and supporting their studios than Sony do, because Sony seem to be all about, we're going to give these games to our proven studios. We're going to make sure that our proven studios have the bigger budget. We're going to make sure our proven studios have say on what our support studios are doing. Whereas Microsoft are like, so to the best of my knowledge, the only real support studio that Microsoft have is, I believe, the World's Edge, which are a support studio for Age of Empires. But I'm confident that if they wanted to go out and say, yes, we want to be more than a support studio, we want to be, we want to be a lead developer on a project, Microsoft would say yes. They would, or at least they would give them the ability to try before they were like, no, we're going to send people to go and step in to make sure that you do it right. Which, again, Microsoft, in Sony's defense, Microsoft can afford to do, because Microsoft have a lot more money than Sony have and a lot more resources. So they can afford to do that more than Sony can. But it really, really rubs me the wrong way that VG, was it?
VASG, the Visual Arts.
VASG. That VASG were like, we want to be more than we currently are, and Sony were like, yes, but actually no.
Yeah, I think that's what's real sad about it. Because I mean, when they were doing the remake thing, it was on like as the article says, it was on like a probationary thing, where it's like,
yeah,
because again, they've been support on a number of studios, but so they're still unproven in terms of leading their own thing. Which you can was like, okay, we understand that's why they want to do a remake thing first. Anyway, our idea is to expand on other franchises. Let's start with a remake of some sort and go from there. So like, it's understandable how we got to where we are. It's very understandable, and I would even say reasonable how we got to where we are in terms of Last of Us remake being the idea, it being worked on, them kind of being taken off the lead status of the project. The whole timeline of events makes sense. It's understandable, but it doesn't mean we have to like it all that much entirely. And I think that it's let's bring the question of the episode into this. The question of the episode this week: what do we think is going on at Sony right now? Do we agree with recent decisions, or do we think they're losing their way? This whole situation here, as a PlayStation fan, this situation, as I said to you, Keiran, before, it's like the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of people. It's been following the Japan studio restructuring, following the PSN store being closed for PS3, Vita, and PSP, following Game Pass just, being what it is this past month, and all the big announcements that Microsoft's been making and stuff like that. It's seemed like Sony is just like out of, I guess you could say, out of touch, not doing the right thing, sleep at the wheel, so on and so forth. It seemed like they're just like doing all the wrong things. And I don't think that all this news is doom and gloom. I don't think all this news means doom and gloom for Sony and PlayStation for this generation.
No, not at all.
Because as I said on Twitter, I'm forgetting exactly what I said, but at the end of the day, businesses are out to make money. That is number one. That's the number one thing for a business. They're out to make money. And all this stuff for Sony, it seems like the end of the world because Microsoft's been making all these big headlines, and having great PR on their end in terms of the moves that they're making and the things that they're doing. And Sony's mostly been quiet for the past month, and everything that we've heard has just been like not so great news. But Sony is still going to put out great games. And I would like to think that although they are restructuring their Japan studio, and although they're going to be putting more of an emphasis on their AAA blockbuster titles, I would like to think that this doesn't mean that we're not going to be getting any new or creative ideas out of any of their studios. We have Dreams. Dreams from Media Molecule was a project that was first, I don't think it was officially announced as Dreams, but we first heard about it at the reveal of the PlayStation 4 in 2013. That game was in beta or early access in 2019, officially came out last year, 2020.
Yeah.
That game was in the cooker for a while. And the thing is, Dreams is not a game that's going to make a bunch of money. It's a game that it serves a specific purpose. It's in a certain niche. And while Sony did not market it all that much, they stood by the game and let it come out. They let Media Molecule do their thing, and we got Dreams.
Yeah.
We have Concrete Genie, another game from Pixel Opus, which I think came out 2019, which is another low-key game, low-key, creative, unique idea game where, it was on PlayStation Plus a few months ago. I haven't played it yet. But, reviews of it were generally good. Didn't get great reviews, didn't make a bunch of money, but, generally good reviews. And I think that people are seeing all this news and thinking, and just automatically going to the worst thoughts, thinking the worst about Sony, just because of everything that's going on right now. But I think we're still going to get some unique and creative ideas and games from Sony's first-party studios. We might not get as many since Japan Studio is kind of being restructured and they're focusing more on their tentpole, big name games and everything like that, these big blockbusters. But I think we'll still get these creative games. Now, this is still all very sad and concerning. Last of Us Remake does not need to exist. I still can't fathom that idea at all. I think where we should be worried, though, is if creativity and unique ideas from Sony completely goes away, or if we start to see way less of it in like 2-3 years from now. You know what I mean? Because that's about much time it takes to make a game anyway. So if a couple years from now we are seeing basically this attitude of shut down any idea that is not a AAA, that is not a big blockbuster, that is not, what we've come to be known for from our games, then it becomes worrying and concerning. And then we could point back to this point in time where it's like the seeds for it were planted and they just kind of grew from there. It just kind of spiraled from there. But I don't think I don't think that this is the end of the world. I think that we're still going to be getting some cool ideas, some unique ideas, some fun ideas, and creative ones from different companies. I still think that, I don't think that it's going to be a thing of, okay, you guys are going to be, cranking out sequels to these already established IPs like, Call of Duty does and all like that. Like, I think, or Assassin's Creed, like, I think, they'll still be able to present new ideas. We got Ghost of Tsushima. We were able to get Horizon. God of War, while yes, it's a reboot, was able to radically reinvent itself. The Last of Us Part 2, yes, it's a sequel, but it's a thing. Naughty Dog is still working on other stuff aside from The Last of Us Part 2, this Uncharted, and the remake. At least one could presume, Neil Druckmann has said they're working on a couple cool things. One would think that maybe that a new IP is in the cards for that.
Yeah.
Sony Bend is now working on a new IP. Granted, it's not Days Gone 2 what they originally pitched, but they are working on a new IP. They were allowed that creative freedom to go do something new. Days Gone didn't do that well. Okay, let's do something new instead. We were given Uncharted originally. We don't want to do that. We want to do our own new thing. Okay, you guys can go do your own new thing. That's fine. Like, they're still getting the freedom to do what they want. We're still getting these new ideas from them. It's just, the framing of everything here and the context surrounding all this makes it all seem way, 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 way worse than it actually is. And I realize I might sound like a super Sony shill fanboy ever right now. I don't think I am, and I'm not trying to. I'm just not looking at this in a doom and gloom situation, but I realize that we could end up in a bad place in a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with most of what you just said. I don't think that this is the end of games like Gravity Rush or Everyone's Golf or like smaller non-blockbuster AAA titles. I don't think that's the end of that at all. I think this whole situation is painting Sony in more of a bad light than they need to be. But I don't agree with several of the things that Jason Schreier talks about in this article. I think that, like you said, if in a couple of years we start to see, unless this game is The Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima or Horizon, then we're not doing it. I think that's when we should really be like, okay, this is really, really concerning. But until that happens, I mean, I still expect to get games out of Sony that aren't The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima and Horizon.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's fair to be concerned now. I myself would not be angry and thinking that it's the end of things until we are actually in that position, in that spot, in that place. Right now, I don't think we're in that place, but we're at a point where we could be at that place if things, go down that path. So fair to be concerned, but I don't think the sky is falling.
Yep. Completely agree.
So yeah, that's the whole Sony situation. And I actually think it ties very well into the next story.
It does. The next story being that apparently Xbox is reportedly in talks to publish Hideo Kojima's next game. Reading from a VGS article written by...
VGC. You said VGS.
VGC. Written by Tom Ivan. Saying, quote, Microsoft is reportedly in talks with Hideo Kojima to publish the next game from the Japanese designer best known for the Metal Gear Solid series. That's according to VentureBeat, which claims Xbox hopes to make the second game from Death Stranding studio Kojima Productions the focus of a plan to leverage Japanese talent. While the site source was unable to confirm if Microsoft has yet to actually sign a deal for the new Kojima game, it claims Kojima production figurine spotted on Xbox boss Phil Spencer's shelf during a presentation in February was hinting at a potential partnership, end quote. Microsoft, especially Phil Spencer, has been saying for months, if not years, that he wants a bigger presence in Japan. A very, very good way to do that would be to publish a Kojima game. A very good way to do that.
Definitely. And it's a move where it's one of those things where like if it happens, that is insane. And that would be a way to get a whole lot of eyes on Xbox in Japan, because Hideo Kojima, when you think of gaming in Japan, like gaming, Japanese game developers or companies, or well, developers specifically, I imagine the first, if not one of the first names that comes to anyone's head and comes out anyone's mouth is Hideo Kojima. Like, he is just synonymous with Japanese game development. So getting him to have a game exclusive on Xbox would be insane. And I think it's crazy. This came out before the Sony stuff, but after hearing the Sony stuff, it kind of makes the Kojima with Microsoft stuff seem very likely and very true.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that's going on with Sony right now. I think not necessarily that Kojima, because for anyone who doesn't know, Kojima and PlayStation have a very long history of working together. So yeah. I don't necessarily know if this would be Kojima trying to distance himself with PlayStation, with like everything that they're doing and all the decisions that they're making. But I mean, it says in this article, quote, the designer, meaning Kojima, has also previously expressed a desire to explore a new format of game enabled by cloud gaming platforms, end quote. Who better to do that with than Microsoft? xCloud is arguably the best working cloud streaming software for games. I haven't tried Stadia. I've heard many problems with it. I don't know if Amazon Luna is out yet. I don't think it is.
Maybe it's in beta. I know earlier this week, Greg Miller from Kind of Funny was doing something with Amazon Luna. I didn't watch it, but I know he's doing something with it. So maybe it's in beta and all like that.
You could request early access for it. So I assume it is in some form of early access just now.
Gotcha.
But out of everyone who is doing cloud gaming right now, the biggest three are Stadia, Luna, and xCloud. And arguably, xCloud is the one that works the best from what I've heard. So, I mean, if this is true, and if, Kojima said that he wanted to explore a new format of game enabled by cloud gaming platforms. Again, I think the best person for him to partner with that on would be Xbox because of xCloud. But I mean, even just outside of that, with the deals that Xbox has been making recently, and I might touch on this in a second if I remember to, because there's a thought I had earlier. But with everything that Xbox have been doing, this makes a lot of sense. It would make sense for them to go to somebody like Kojima, who has a very renowned catalog of games in Japan, and say, we want to work with you. Like, how much? Like, I don't know if the conversation would necessarily have gone, how much would it take to buy or to publish your game, but more of like, would you be interested in working with us, or like, I don't know, but I'm excited by the prospect of Xbox and Kojima working together. I probably won't play it because by the sounds of things, Kojima wants to make a very, very scary horror game. So probably not something I would play, but I am very, very excited for whatever this potentially could be. Yeah,
I think real quick, going back to the tying this into the whole PlayStation story. Like you said, PlayStation and Kojima, they have a very good relationship, very strong relationship. After he was ousted from Konami, they put out the video saying, "Hey, we're making a game with this man." Came out on the E3 stage, gave him the lighted staircase to walk on down to I think it was the Mad Max music or something like that. It's walking on down, he comes on out, "I'm back." They have a very great relationship with this guy. Death Stranding was fully Kojima, but because of Death Stranding's reception, it got that was a polarizing game. I didn't play it, and I've thought about playing it recently, but it was a very, very polarizing game. I don't know how well it did sales wise. Now, granted, it was only a PlayStation published game. Wasn't PlayStation developed.
Yeah,
Kojima developed it. They published it. Someone else published it, which is why it's on PC now. But if given the whole Bloomberg story, it's possible that after that they might have said, okay, we don't want to do an exclusive game with you. It's possible. The reason I think that's unlikely is because that is Kojima.
Yeah, I was gonna say
knows that. So Sony knows what they're getting into when they get with Kojima, and Kojima's ideas are crazy. They're out there, but people will play his games regardless because it is him. And having a Kojima game means something, regardless of whether it's exclusive or not. Being able to have it on your platform, it means something. It's great. So that's why part of me would like to think that Sony, being the way Sony didn't like kind of say to Kojima, we don't want to do something with you. It makes me, maybe Kojima saw how Sony was and said, maybe they won't want this game to be exclusive to them if I try and pitch it to them. So maybe he was like, I don't want to deal with that. I had issues with Konami. I don't want to deal with that. Maybe I'll try somewhere else. It's possible. I'm not saying that there is a 100% correlation. There's a possible correlation between the two stories. But if he wanted to do something with the cloud, then with Microsoft, it just kind of makes the most sense. And it would be great for Microsoft. All that being said, when I read this, I was just like, can we stop with the third-party deal measuring contest? Because this is actually getting very annoying. As now that I realize that might fully sound like me being like a salty person or whatever, but I read it, I was just like, can we stop? Can we not with this? And I think it's mainly because it's just one after another, like back to back that we keep hearing about, and I'm just like, can we stop with the demeasuring contest? Can we please stop? Like third-party exclusives, I will not deny, can be very exciting, especially in the time exclusive, whatever. They can be very exciting. It also does just suck in general that other people can't play them. Like 7 Remake, when that was announced, I was like, that's awesome. That also sucks, for Xbox people. But it's awesome on one side, it sucks for the other side. And this is also a case where it is, if it's true, it's awesome for Microsoft. It is an amazing win for them. That sucks for everyone else. If it's like a thing where they say it's only available on Game Pass platforms for freaking forever, whatever. I imagine it'll probably be like a time exclusive situation like Death Stranding was. Although Death Stranding hasn't come to Xbox. But if this deal ends up working, if this deal ends up happening, as I saw someone say, perhaps when they announce the deal, they then say, "Oh yeah, by the way, Death Stranding coming to Xbox Game Pass like tomorrow." That would just be like bam, bam, 1-2 punch right there. So who knows? I don't know. I'm just kind of getting. I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting tired of these third-party deals or just hearing about them back to back. But regardless, this would be awesome for Microsoft if they did manage to land this.
Yeah. I'm going to very quickly touch on something you said because I would genuinely rant for this up for 2 or 3 hours. I have said many times, I cannot stand third-party exclusives. I can't stand them, especially when they're timed. They don't benefit anybody.
Right.
They benefit the people getting paid to make it exclusive. That's it. It doesn't benefit the consumer. I would argue it doesn't really benefit the person paying for it to be exclusive. Like, for example, PlayStation with Deathloop, right? I really can't imagine that as benefiting anyone other than Bethesda. Subsequently now, maybe Microsoft because of money. But
PlayStation benefits PlayStation. They get a exclusive game from that company, It benefits the platform holder and the company making the deal, because the company making the deal gets a bunch of money and the platform holder gets a game that is on their platform only that a lot of people want, thereby either encouraging people to buy the platform for that game or actually, buy the platform for that game. That's what it encourages.
That is the thing that I fundamentally disagree with. I was thinking about this a lot over the last 2 or 3 days. I really don't believe in the whole system selling game thing, right? Because yes, there are some games that I am dying to play, like Project Athia, Forspoken, for example, right? Dying to play that game. It looks really, really fun. It looks exactly like my kind of game. It has dragons in it. Yes, please. I am not going to go and spend £350 to £450 on a PS5 just to play that game. Same with Horizon Forbidden West. I would argue same for God of War. Like, I really want to play that game. I really, really, really enjoyed the reboot that they did in 2018. I am not spending £350 to £450 just to play that game. I'll spend £350 to £450 to play that game and subsequently maybe a bunch of other exclusives that come down the line, but I'm not buying it specifically for that game. It might, again, it might coincidentally happen that I buy a console when that game comes out because, that's a game coming out, but I'm not buying it for that game. I wouldn't say that's a system selling game. Do you get where I'm going with that?
No, I do get what you're going with that. And I would then counter that with you're not buying it. You're buying. So if let's say Forspoken, right? It's a time exclusive. The intention with it is, all right, this is on our platform. Only people on our platform can play it for X amount of time. So if they want to play it, they have to have the console. So you buy the console so that you can play the game. Now, while you're buying it to play that game, you're then getting exposed to all the other games in the ecosystem. So then it's like, okay, well, since I have this, I might as well get this game and this other game as well. So it's a way to get you to buy the console, but then it's also a way to get you to then stay in that console space by buying other games on the console. So, for example, me and an Xbox. I mean, I already wanted to get a Series X this generation because I want to be able to have two consoles, the two big consoles this generation. That I don't know when that would have happened, but that Xbox buying Bethesda is like, okay, well, now that might have to get bumped up, especially if Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Starfield are not going to come to PlayStation. That's going to have to get bumped up to very soon. And it'll be so I can play those games. And then while I'm there, I'll play Halo because I do like Halo. I'll play Gears and stuff. I'll be on Game Pass most likely, because it just makes sense. So if you were to buy a PS5, if you want to play Deathloop, right? You're like, all right, I'll get a PS5 so I can play Deathloop. You have Deathloop, you have the PS5 and you have Deathloop. Well, now I have the PlayStation Plus collection. Let me play all these other games on there that I never played before.
Yeah.
I can now play Forspoken when that comes out. I can now play, say, let's say there's another like freaking Fall Guys 2. I don't know. Let's say that. Fall Guys 2 is PlayStation Plus. It's only on PlayStation for a year again. I can do that now. You get what I mean? It's the same way, just like Microsoft with Game Pass. Game Pass is to be your way in there, your entryway into the Xbox ecosystem. That's all third-party exclusives are meant to be. Your window into the platform ecosystem if you're not already in. And if you're already in, it's like a gift to you.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing I'm more disagreeing with when I say like I'm not a believer in the system selling game is buying a console specifically for one game. Like I'm not, Again, I'm not gonna buy a PS5 just to play Deathloop.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna buy a PS5 just to play God of War Ragnarok. I'm not gonna buy a Series X just to play Halo Infinite. That's gonna be one of the games I play. It's just not the only reason I'm buying the console. So I fundamentally disagree with the idea of a system selling game.
I disagree with your disagreement, because while that might not be the case for you, there's a whole lot of people out there that is.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Like I realize that this is a personal thing to me. I'm not saying that I fundamentally disagree
with the idea.
With the idea as a whole. I disagree with it for me, and potentially, I can't imagine that, hundreds of thousands of people are going to run out to buy a PS5 to play Deathloop.
Yeah, probably not. God of War, yes.
Oh yeah, God of War. I would argue yes, God of War, but not like. See, no, but that's the thing that I'm trying to argue is that Deathloop is a third party game. It is coming to other platforms at some point. God of War is a first party IP. I wouldn't expect that to ever be anywhere else unless they eventually decide to port it to PC. That's what I disagree with about, making these deals to make third party games exclusive, is it doesn't benefit anyone other than I would argue it doesn't benefit the platform holder, because like, sure, you are going to get probably a couple of maybe I don't know, a couple of hundred, maybe a couple of thousand people to go and buy a PS5 to play Deathloop, right? You might get people to go and do that because, it's a fairly high profile game, it looks really cool, blah blah blah. But in the long run, I don't really see how that benefits somebody like PlayStation, because like, you're not getting millions of people to go and buy a PS5 to play that. I would argue you are not going to get thousands of people to go and buy a PS5 to play Deathloop. So I don't really understand how that benefits the platform holder. It benefits Bethesda, sure, because they're getting a bunch of money to make this game, PlayStation exclusive for a year, 2 years, however long. But I don't understand how that benefits anyone other than Bethesda.
Yeah, I still think at the end of the day, it benefits the company that is making the deal. If the company is making the deal, and the people and the consumers on that platform that will be able to benefit from the deal, because they are able to play this game, which is awesome. That's cool. The company that is that's getting the money from the deal is getting money, and the company that is giving the money to make the deal is getting an exclusive game for their platform that the people that are already in on their side can play, and the people that haven't made the jump yet might have a reason to jump in on. So even if Deathloop is not the sole reason, Deathloop could be part of the reason why you get a PS5. Like, it could be a thing of like, all right, I want to play the PlayStation games over there, but there's not enough over there that, I'm really all that interested in. But then they see Deathloop and it's like, all right, you know what? That's the one that's going to get me to go over. Because now Deathloop's going to be there. That looks really cool. And I know Miles Morales is out, so I'll play Miles Morales. Demon Souls is there, so, I'll play Demon Souls 2. And you kind of have your 3 right there. Astro comes with the console already, so there's that there too already. So even because I don't think Deathloop is like you said, it's not a system seller on its own. But I think that it is one where it could be the pushing point. It'll be the one where it's like, this in conjunction with others is the reason why.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree that there will be people who, like, there might not be anything they want to play on there right now, but Deathloop might be the thing that's like, okay, well, I'll get a PS5 to play this, but I know that Forbidden West is coming later this year, so I'm going to be able to play that.
Right.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and there's all these others already out, so I'll get it, and then I'll have these others as well. So I have these 4 games. I have PlayStation Plus collection, catch up on others. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry, one thing that you said I'm going to disagree with. That I don't think it benefits the people on that platform. I like the consumers on that platform, because even regardless of whether Sony made the deal to make Deathloop timed exclusive or not, they still would have gotten the game. But basically, all that's like, the only people that I think that benefits is like your extremist Sony fanboy who is like, haha, we can play this game on Xbox, you can't. I was about to say a swear word there. Screw you, Xbox sucks, PlayStation's the best. Blah blah blah. That's the only people I think that benefits, because like I say, regardless of whether PlayStation made that deal or not, PlayStation would have still been getting Deathloop.
Yeah, I think when I say it benefits the consumers, it benefits them in the sense that it's the sense that, all right, we have a game that's exclusive to us. There's another game at our belt that we can say that we have. Just like we could say we have The Last of Us, we have this. Granted, it was a first party, but we can say we have this game exclusive to us, even if it's only for a little bit. But also, it's the sense of that the game is exclusive to us, and I'm trying to see how to explain this. The game's exclusive to us. It's I have it in my head. It's just really difficult for me to explain it and like put it into words. But I do think it benefits the people on that console already. Even if it benefits them, if in terms of benefits, they're like way at the bottom of the list of who it benefits. It's just it's a nice little perk for them to have, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. Yes. I'm becoming very conscious of time, so I'm gonna apologize for this extremely long tangent that I put us on. But if you want to see potentially a full episode dedicated to this, then let us know in the comments below, and we can look into that. We're gonna very quickly talk about what we've been playing this week. Tyler, I'll throw it to you.
All right, so 2 quick ones real quick. Then I'm gonna talk about the big one. So I only got to play I played a bit of Thumper last night. Very first time I ever played this game. It's free this month. I don't know how much longer it's free. It's part of PlayStation's Play at Home initiative, so they have like a bunch of free games for you to like download and own permanently. Thumper is one of them. It's a PS4 game. It's also PSVR, if I'm correct. But it's like a rhythm game in a sense, but it's not entirely a rhythm game. So like you're like this little beetle. As the description of the game says, you're a space beetle, and you're on a track, and there's a song there's like music playing in the background, and things happen on the track. So you do stuff in tune, with what's happening on the track to get through to the end of the level, if that makes any sense. It's tough to explain. So like it starts off the game starts off by teaching you certain things. Like when like a little light up little node appears on the track, you press X as you go over it, and then you cause like a little like explosion or little ripple or whatever. When you see lines across the track, you hold X and you tick right through them. If you don't, you get hurt, and you get like 2 hits and you're dead. As you're going on the track, sometimes you'll get to like turns, and like it'll be like a wall that pops up when you get to the turn. When you set, you have to hold X and move like in the direction. So like if it's going left, you go left. Going right, you go right. And you do it. You skirt along. You keep it going. If you don't, you hit it and you get hurt. And like each level has like X amount of like sub levels, and then you get to the end and you get against the final boss and all like that. So the whole time you're doing it, like in the background, there's like a song playing. So for example, I'm trying to think of one. One goes like doom 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 doom. And as you hear the song in the background, stuff will pop up on the track that is in tune with the song in the background. So like you can like there might be a node and then 3 of the lines. So you pick up the node and then hit the lines. It'll go tick 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 tick. It's tough to explain, but when you play it, it's actually really fun, but also really freaking challenging. Like the game gets difficult pretty quickly because it's really fast paced, and like your only break is in between levels momentarily. And if you die, like it eases you back into like the level that you're on. But the game is actually a lot of fun and really challenging, but some really cool. And each level adds a new thing. So the first level, it's all just the pick up the nodes, the going through the lines and the wall. And then the second level adds, I believe, jumping. You can like do a jump over things. And the third level, it adds, in addition to the jump, you can now drop down to cause an explosion afterwards, after you land. So like getting all these, so like they add more different mechanics to it and different little layers of depth to the simple gameplay. But the songs get like a bit faster, and the way you have to like include each thing into one another, you have to do it much quicker, back to back to back. It becomes way more complex, and it's a lot of fun. And like the visuals in the background are just like freaking insane. Like one of the levels, you're one of the like little checkpoint mini levels, you're going through it, and like in the background you see you're basically inside like the giant mouth of this creature, and it's just like what the heck is even happening? But it's actually really fun. I can only imagine what's like playing this game in VR, and I want to play this game with headphones. I didn't play it with headphones last night, But when I play it again, I'm gonna pop my headphones into my controller just so I can get
Yeah.
the whole auditory sensation, because this game is a lot of fun. If you have a PS5 if you have a PS4, PS5, whatever, definitely download this game. Give it a shot if you're into like these type of games, or look up something about it real quickly on YouTube before you give it a shot and play it. It's a lot of fun. It's worth a try. I actually think, Keiran, if you played it, you might like it, or at least maybe the music for it, because it has a really pounding, deep, aggressive vibe to the soundtrack, to the music. Now it's not like Doom or anything where it's like not like heavy metal, but it's
Yeah.
more like heavy, dark, foreboding ambient music in a sense. It's really aggressive. It's really fun though. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I quickly looked up a picture of it. I remember seeing a trailer for this when it was first announced. I think it was an E3 one year.
Okay.
I can't quite remember, but I have definitely seen this game before.
It's awesome. Look up a trailer for it. You'll see, you'll understand what I mean. It's cool. So I played that for a bit last night. I think I played it for like 2 hours last night. And then I played a bit of Persona 5 Strikers on Sunday, I think. I think I did. I didn't play too much of it. I thought I was going to play more of it this past weekend. That didn't happen. But I played some of it, and I'm about to finish up the second jail. I'm literally, all I gotta do is send the calling card, and then we can finish up the second jail. So the goal is actually to play that this weekend. Maybe I'm gonna try to get some in today. I have to go out after we finish this and look for something for my mom's birthday. So I gotta do that, but I'll try to get some Persona 5 in this weekend and throughout the week. But the main thing I played this past weekend was Knockout City, which, as we said earlier, I did a video preview on. Go check that out on YouTube. I had a lot of fun making that video. And I had a lot of fun playing this game. Like I said in the video, I only plan to play for like an hour or two. And Keiran, I'm not joking, I ended up playing the entire weekend. Like Saturday, that was all I played on Saturday. And then I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck? And then Sunday, I was like, all right, I'll play this a bit. I'll play like just an hour or so, and then I'll play Persona 5. And that kind of happened, except I played for like way more than just an hour or so. I played a whole lot more. Like I played for like, I think 2 or 3 hours of it on Sunday. And then I played Persona 5. And then I went back to playing Knockout City. Like, this game is a lot of fun. The Nintendo Direct trailer did this game no services at all. Like, that trailer kind of made everyone sour on the games. We were like, oh, what we saw before that was actually the weird mixture of characters was actually way more interesting.
Yeah.
The game's a lot of fun. It's very easy to pick up and play. You can pick up and play it just casually and just have a good time. It's very easy to understand, but there's actually a whole lot of depth there to it. And once you start to like understand, like once you see like how the maps are laid out, because the maps play a part in this too. The maps have their own different layouts and unique things about them. Like one of them has like tubes that you could go in that shoot you around the map to a different spot real quickly. So like you could use that to go get to a teammate who might be in trouble real quick. Or if you see you're about to be in a tight situation and you're next to a tube, which I did before, I was like, oh shoot, I'm about to get hit. I ran to a tube, went somewhere, landed somewhere else on the map. The guy followed me through the tube, but it gave me a moment to like try to get away, get myself together and all like that. He did still get me and kill me afterwards, but it gave me a shot. It gave me a chance. So there's things like that. There's another map where it's on 2 rooftops. You like you have a glider all the time that you can use, but on this map, there's like wind shooting up between the 2 rooftops. And there's also a bridge. So you can either walk across the bridge, but it's a thin bridge with no barrier, so you can easily get knocked off. Or you can jump and use your glider to glide across. And the glide is so much faster because the wind pushes you along so quickly. So like little things like that. The maps are really cool. The game is a lot of fun. There's like different types of balls for you to use. There's like a jail ball. Well, it's called the cage ball. I called it the jail ball in the video by accident. But like you toss that at someone and then like it locks them in a ball form that they can't get out of. So then you can use that to like toss at an enemy or like just straight up toss them off the map. That's what I would do. If I was next to the edge, I'd be like, all right, bye. You can't come back. Or if you mess up, like someone did when they were playing against me, they tossed me off the map, but they tossed me real high. So I got tossed real high, but the thing is, I didn't get knocked out. So when I came out my ball form, I just flew back to the stage. Or if you mess up and you just don't toss someone off in time, like you could toss them, but like they'll be able to get back because they weren't too far away. There's that one. There's a bomb ball, like a sniper ball, a moon ball that gives you like zero gravity, kind of sort of not zero gravity, but like it has you jump higher and float more when you jump, and when you hit someone with that ball, they float more and all. This game was a blast. Let me tell you, it was so much fun. And like this character customization, battle pass stuff, but everything's like, it's all cosmetic. There's no like pay to win aspect of it.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. This game, I really think that like when this game, I'm gonna buy this game when it comes out. It's gonna be $20 if I'm right. I'm gonna buy it when it comes out. And the studio behind it, Velen Studios, that game is like, it's a sleeper hit. Like I feel like that game, I don't really know if anyone really is putting too much attention or eyes on it, but that game is going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I was playing it, like I said, you could play it real casually and just have a good time, but I was getting like so invested and like into the game that like some matches were so intense where it was like I was playing it like almost as intensely as I would play like Call of Duty. But I don't have to play, like unlike Call of Duty, you don't have to play too hard to have fun.
Yeah.
But the game is so good and so like fun that you can get like real into it and play it real hard to do well and have even more fun, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, I watched your video. It looks like a lot of fun. It's definitely a game I'm going to be very interested in picking up. I don't know if I'll pick it up at launch, but I will definitely be picking that game up at some point. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, so if you have not watched my video on it, go watch the video on it. I played a whole lot. Took me some time to make that video. Go give that video a watch. Give you an idea of what the game is like and all like that.
I haven't been playing a lot this week. I've only been playing Outriders. I've played it for about 20 hours or so. So I'm fairly into the game.
You said, wait, did you say I haven't played it a whole lot? Or you said I haven't played a whole lot?
I haven't played like a whole lot of games this week. I've only played Outriders.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, wait, 20 hours is a lot. What do you mean?
It's good. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's good. If I was fairly excited for this game before it came out. Like, I mean, I said before, I didn't keep my eye like extremely closely on it, but whenever a new trailer or something would pop out, I would watch it at some point. I was fairly excited for this game before it came out. I'm still fairly excited about it. It's not keeping the controller in my hands, but it's not having me put it down either, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, the combat is very fun. I really enjoy the combat. The abilities, I chose the Trickster class, which you like manipulate space-time and stuff. The abilities are somewhat overpowered, but then at the same time somewhat underpowered, depending on the abilities you use. But I know there is like a balance or a nerf or something coming from the Trickster in their their next update.
Yeah.
The story is very lackluster. It's not got me like, I don't know. I don't know if lackluster is the right word. It's not got me in the edge of my seat. It's not got me hooked. It's not got me disinterested, but it's not.
You're like
fantastic.
You're looking to see where it goes, but like you're not sitting there like you're not invested in it.
Yeah, exactly. Like basically I'm just along for the ride. Like the only thing that I'll say is that it's not great. Put it that way.
Yeah, I saw someone
like they're
oh sorry, I was gonna say I saw someone online say it's like a Sci-Fi Channel original movie in a sense.
Exactly that. It's like I'll watch it if it's on, but like it's not something I'd be actively looking to watch.
Yeah.
it does get fairly repetitive because it's basically cutscene, walk, shoot, cutscene, walk, shoot, cutscene, and it does get a little bit tedious at times. But there is enough variety in it that it's not, you know. I'm still gonna continue playing it. I'm gonna finish the story. I'm probably gonna play it more when we finish recording today because I'm enjoying it a bit. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. So I'm happy you're enjoying it enough to keep playing it, and that you're like you played 20 hours of it, so you must enjoy it a good amount to have played 20 hours of this game.
Yeah, like I mean, like I said earlier, like it's not keeping the controller in my hands, but I'm not actively looking to put the controller down. That's probably the best way I can describe it.
That feels like a lot of what I've seen people saying, where it's like, it's fun-ish, but like it's also not that great. It's like it's not that great, but I'm having fun, but not the most fun, but enough fun where I can like turn my brain off and just do this for a bit. Like the story's there, but it's not all that great. But I want to see where it goes, but I'm not invested really. Like I've seen a whole lot of people just be like so flippy. I don't want to say flippy floppy, but like so in between and mixed on it that it's just like it's so weird. And this is kind of like what I was thinking of the game long before it came out, which is why when it was coming to Game Pass, I was like, this is great for the game. I really don't know who's looking forward to it or all that excited about it because it didn't look all that like exciting or great to me. So hearing everyone's mixed receptions to it, I'm like, this is kind of what I thought the game was going to be, like a really weird mixed game.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to score it, I'd give it like a 7. It's not stellar. It's not extremely noteworthy, but it's not terrible. It's not unplayable. It's not bad. It's just kind of something that I play.
You're like it passes the time. It's a podcast type of game. You put that on. You put it on a podcast in the background, and it's kind of like
basically
pass the time.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you could totally put on this podcast in the background while you play it.
That's something you could do.
Just saying.
Just put on this one, listen to all the previous one. Oh, something.
And that will conclude this week's episode of the Play to Win podcast. As a reminder, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Play to Win Game. Be sure to follow us over there. You can submit questions for a question in the episode. You can get updates on the show, see whatever we tweet. We sometimes tweet about some news that comes out. And while you're here on YouTube or listening to the podcast on whatever your favorite podcast listening platform is, remember to subscribe, and if you're able to, turn on notifications so that way you know when we post a new video here on YouTube or a new podcast episode comes out on audio. Tyler, where can people find you?
Find me over on Twitter at TylerMiller2496. You already know the whole spiel. I tweet about fun stuff, tweet about funny things, gaming related things, and everything like that. Again, heavy emphasis. Go watch that Knockout City preview. Go watch that preview.
Yes, do that.
That took a lot of time. That's why I didn't get to play more this week. My play time was literally Saturday, Sunday, and last night. That was it. I didn't play anything else at all this week because I was only solely working on that video. But I am very happy with how it came out. I'm actually very proud of how it came out. Go watch the video again. I think that game is one that everyone should keep an eye on. It's a lot of fun. So give it a watch. Hopefully it'll get you excited for the game. And, go watch our other Friday videos too. Go watch Keiran's about why it's great to be in the Xbox ecosystem. Go watch the other one that I did about the Dying Light update. Go watch our Friday videos. They're fun videos.
Exactly. Go and watch our Friday videos. They are a good time. Mm-hmm. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Badlynet, BADLYNET, all one word. You can see the nonsense that I post on Twitter is mainly where I'm active, so go ahead and follow me over there. Thank you all very much for watching or listening, and we will see you all next week.
Have a good one, everybody.